9:16 on the morning show with Jeff and Will. We are back for our last, but certainly not least, segment on this fine Monday morning. We've got Tina Traster all the way from the Rockland County Business Journal joining us as she does every Monday at this time. Good morning, Tina. How are you this morning?
Good morning to you, and good morning, Rockland County. I am fine. I am well. What a beautiful day.
Fine is better than bad. We do like to hear it. We do, of course, like to hear it, and we are glad. We hope you enjoyed the weekend. Of course, not too many bad business stories coming out of the weekend, I hope.
It was a busy, excuse me. It was a busy week last week, and I'm going to try to recap some of what went on.
Okay.
So I may try to cover a lot of ground and review at least maybe 3 possible stories. Let me start with one big development of last week, which regards the case around Hi-Tor President Debbie DiBernardo. Judge Larry Schwartz failed to dismiss the case as Debbie DiBernardo's attorney had hoped he might. Just as a reminder, Gerard Damiani, the attorney who's representing DiBernardo in the criminal indictment, had alleged that the filing of false documents, that the prosecutor had filed false documents, had asked for his clients to be dismissed on several grounds, when the grand jury, saying that the grand jury had been misled. Anyway, that was denied. But also another interesting development on that front was that the prosecutor had offered, it has elapsed, DiBernardo a plea deal in which the one felony charge would be dropped if she pled guilty to one misdemeanor. Now, there are 17 misdemeanors, accepts 3 years of probation, and agrees not to handle the books at Hi-Tor, and this is the one that should be noted, agrees to provide evidence against others regarding allegedly continuing crimes at Hi-Tor. She has flat out denied that anything is going on at Hi-Tor. Her attorney has denied that there's anything more for her to report. It's hard to really fathom what this is all about, but what we do know is that she has, at least for now, she denied that offer. She turned down that offer, and that offer had expired on June 9th. So
she turned down the entire offer.
Right, she turned down the entire plea offer, and now it looks like this case, which is costing taxpayer money, is headed to a trial. Mm-hmm. Probably the earliest in the fall, before we see this go to trial.
I mean, if she believes she's innocent, or at least believes that she can make it through without facing these penalties, I suppose. I guess, can't blame her for that.
No, I mean, she very much maintains her innocence. Mm-hmm. She wants her name cleared. In the meantime, this has, of course, been causing a strain on Hi-Tor. At the very same time that, and here's the other piece of news, at the very same time that, Rockland Green took a step forward in getting its request to be able to amend its charter, that was Ken Zabrowski. Someone named Ken Zabrowski sponsored the bill in the Assembly, and Reichlin Melnick in the Senate, and that passed last week.
It did pass.
Right.
Okay, so because we did get a caller that had asked me to ask you if that did pass, so it did.
Yeah. So that passed. I think we put out a pretty detailed story about that, and generally speaking, I think that the public officials at the state level certainly did not do any sort of a deep dive or real investigation into the situation, but rather deferred to the request of local officials. Believes that if this is something that is desired by at least 4 of the 5 town supervisors, then I guess that was enough for them to pass that request to allow Rockland Green to amend its charter, which gives that the former Solid Waste Management Authority the passage. It took them one step closer to being able to move to take over Hi-Tor, if that is their desire, and it remains unclear, what the process for this might be. Despite many questions asked, it's unclear as to whether, one, it will require a vote from the county legislature, two, whether it depends on what County Executive Ed Day's pleasure is on this, and three, what it means for Hi-Tor itself. I uncovered a document from a few years ago that was a letter of intent between the county and Hi-Tor for Hi-Tor to run the new shelter when it was built. Now, that letter might not be legally binding. I don't know what will be, how this is going to evolve as time moves forward. But the bottom line is, Hi-Tor right now, there's certainly a cloud of mystery as to how everything is going to shake out.
Indeed. Now, the governor has yet to comment on this, right? No signature or anything yet.
Yeah, I think, we wrote a story about, actually maybe two stories about Ken Zabrowski sponsoring this bill, and, basically his rationale is if this is something that the local officials want, then that was enough really for them to feel that they should sponsor the bill. I think what's been missing all the way throughout, from our very local level up through the state level, is a really hard look at what's going on at Hi-Tor, its functionality.
So you think an investigation would have been necessary, or should have been?
I think an investigation is necessary, or will be necessary. I mean, what was known and said all along is that although Rockland Green has asked for its charter to be amended and now has received that, they've never put forward any sort of a plan, financial projections, anything like that. So all of this has just kind of proceeded, and it just seems that the more we know, the less we know. So I think it's been a curious process. We will wait and see where it goes from here. We're still waiting on a contract or some sort of an actual groundbreaking for the shelter itself. That remains a lot of question marks. Right. And now, now we have, just to come back full circle, now we have this trial that we await, which some say just really boils down to possibly a she said, she said. I don't know where all of this is going, but in the meantime, what concerns all of us, every single one of us here in Rockland County, is how we are going to take care of our most vulnerable animals. Mm-hmm. So it's a complicated issue. We continue to report on it, and we will wait and see what happens at the next hearing in court. But it seems like this is headed for trial, and it's something that we will keep a pin in and keep watching. Just one other update, two other quick updates. And speaking of things that people are watching, there's a very large, huge distribution center proposed in Valley Cottage by Lincoln Equities. This is a 220,000 square foot warehouse. I don't know that Clarkstown, let alone Valley Cottage, has a warehouse of that scope and scale. One that portends to bring definitely even more truck traffic to Route 303. And that applicant, in order to reduce its hurdles, it tweaked its plan and eliminated and lowered the height of the building, the proposed building, so that it doesn't have to go to the ZBA, the Zoning Board of Appeals. So that application is coming back to the Planning Board, I think in late June. It's been a controversial application. People are very concerned about the spillage of this level of trucks onto a road that is already a nightmare. We've talked about this, but they have made tweaks. They are trying to, I guess, lower their hurdles so that they can get their project approved, and at the same time, there is a lot of community opposition and a lot of worry and concern over this project. So Lincoln Equities project, Executive Park, Valley Cottage, another story that we're watching carefully because I think that it has it will have some true. Well, it's a game changer to put a distribution center, I think, of that scale in Valley Cottage. So we're watching that story as well. Mm-hmm. And just thirdly, I wanted to just say before I wrap up is we also reported that this sounds just like something that's it doesn't sound like it's a big deal, but a regional business organizations last week got together and called for a federal assault weapons ban. And yes, everybody in the wake of the latest mass shooting has this on their mind, and the debate plays out. But what was notable about this press conference that we reported on was that these business leaders, and we don't know where the Rockland Business Association stands on this. They weren't part of this group. It was pulled together very quickly. But what they said in the press conference is that the business community hasn't typically or traditionally taken a stand around gun control or several assault bans and stuff like that. But they did say that the time has come to tie together what this means to businesses, the safety of businesses, the ability for people to go about their business and feel safe. And so they started the dialogue here in the region. This includes the Business Council of Westchester and the Business Council of New York State. And so they basically said that they want to create a stronger voice before the session of Congress ends, and begin a dialogue on the issue. Mm-hmm. So I just thought that this was important because we don't normally see this from from business groups mm-hmm.
Speaking
out on this issue, and now we are. So it's notable, and I thought newsworthy.
Is there much of a we haven't talked about at least as long as I've been on here much of a gun market in terms of like gun stores and gun shops here in Rockland County?
Well, funny you should ask that, because in the story I include a little anecdote. So from my research, it seems that there are about a handful, maybe 5 shops selling guns, mm-hmm. A couple up in Sloatsburg. And then Keith Nicholson, who has run, it was called Chutes and Ladders for 5.5 years in Suffern, which is a gun store. He's actually closing up shop and moving to was it Tennessee, I think he said? Greenville, Tennessee. He said that he quoted that he says, "You can't legislate morality," was his quote. So he's closing up shop, and he's heading south, where he thinks that there will be more freedom for him to sell guns. The answer is we have a handful of stores selling guns here. Another store
we've got one less.
Yeah, we've got one less, and one store that I called and said that I was working on this story just hung up slammed the phone down. So I guess that says something.
Strange. That wasn't him. That was another store.
Yeah, there was another store that that they didn't want to have this conversation.
Oh, I guess they feel uncomfortable because it's their their stuff. But I mean, hey, it's a conversation that is going to happen whether they like it or not, because now that we see these things happen every day, it's
I
kind
think
of
so. I think we're at that point, and there's some news on some agreement at the federal level.
Yes.
amongst bipartisan senators. So. Yeah. So, I mean, we businesses, the gun violence takes place, and if you read the story, there's some really interesting stats about where gun violence takes place and how it affects businesses. Gun violence happens in restaurants and bars and entertainment venues and retail outlets, and as we know from Buffalo, in grocery stores. So it's an issue that it concerns everybody.
Of course. And if anybody wants to read that story or any of the other stories you've written about, of course, they can visit rcbizjournal.com or check out the Rockland County Business Journal's Facebook page or Twitter. Thank you, because I just started following you on Twitter. Thank you so much, Tina, for joining us here on The Morning Show with Jeff and Will. We hope you have a great sunny week. And, of course, we will talk to you next week, if not before then. Have a great one.
You too. Have a fabulous